Let's welcome Reed.
Excuse me real quick. There's a Mini Cooper. You left your lights on? Hello, Mini Cooper.
Thank you. It's not mine. Good evening, everybody. My name is Reed, and I am an alcoholic. So I'm going to talk to you about my experience, strength, and hope. My experience of alcoholism has been most of my life. 20 years of solid drinking, 10 years of trying to recover throughout those 30 years. Today, I'm a little over 2 years sober. I have a sponsor, a grand sponsor. I sponsor guys. I have a home group. And I have a lot of friends in AA that actually love me, which is cool. So I'm going to show you and talk to you a little bit about how I got here and what it was like for me. I was born as an adopted child. My parents adopted 4 children, so we all lived together. And my life was pretty much like Beaver Cleaver. Television, we watched maybe an hour on Saturday and Sunday while we ate. But other than that, I really just played outside and did things. I got into athletics in 4th grade as a runner and proceeded to run all the way through high school. But something dramatic happened to me in the 7th grade, and it changed the way I dealt with things. It was a situation with friends and a girlfriend, but it dramatically changed the way I thought, the way I handled things, and the way I approached things. At that point in my life, I went from being popular, good grades, good everything, to kind of a misfit. Always out of control, always causing problems, and I hadn't even drank yet. I really didn't drink much until I was in my teen years, and it was very rare that I actually did drink alcohol, but when I did, I drank until I passed out. My career in drinking started really when I became 21 years old because I was kind of a baby-faced individual, so I couldn't really go and buy liquor. So I usually stole it from neighborhood families and just when people could buy it. But once I turned 21, I just drank. I loved it. I still do. But the problem is it stopped working for me. But around 23, I started to get in a little bit of trouble. At 25, I got my first DUI in California on the Grapevine. Arrested by Highway Patrol, 2 of us. And we were cocky. We were on our way to a cruise, so we were proceeded to a substation and beat up by the police or the Highway Patrol, and then released in Bakersfield. And this is how my disease works. We had money in the car. We had booze in the car. They parked the car way up the Grapevine towards LA, and we bribed a cabbie saying that we had cash if we could get to the car. Drove us there. And we proceeded to drink again all the way to get on the cruise. Cruise lasted 3 days. It took us 7 days to get home because we had to sober up in LA just to drive again because we didn't want to get a DUI. Subsequently, that DUI was dropped because of the abuse with the Highway Patrol, and it was right around when Rodney King happened, so that the DA didn't even charge us with it. So I proceeded on to life. I got married at 33, and my wife, we lived in California. My wife wanted to move to Arizona, but to give you an idea of drinking, I drank so hard and threw up that I tore a hole in my esophagus, and I had to be fed by a machine through my heart and stomach for a month, and it was amazing how weak I got, but I didn't drink for a whole month. But as soon as that was taken out of me, I went right back to drinking. I lived my life where it was whatever I wanted to do, I just did it. If people got in my way, I went over them or around them. I really was a mean guy, I guess. I pushed hard in life. I always achieved, but then it would all fall apart at one time and collapse because I would just not want to do it anymore. And so I'd go get drunk and miss work and not show up and then move on, find something else. But I proceeded to get a total of 3 DUIs. The last one was a felony. There was a child in the car not in a seatbelt. And then with that, each time I got arrested, I did short terms of sobriety, 1 time a year, 1 time 3 years. And then I just went back out drinking because I wanted to do what I wanted to do. It didn't really matter what anybody else wanted to do. But the last time I got arrested, it was a felony, and I immediately went into treatment, Alcoholics Anonymous, did the program, worked hard at it. And by year 3 of sobriety, I got arrested in Phoenix coming out of the tunnel by a highway patrolman, held at gunpoint, handcuffed in a suit, just like this, on the freeway, and he kept the gun on me because I had a charge of assaulting a cop one at a time when, and that was my second DUI. They were going to shoot my dog, so I punched the officer and kind of got beat up by the other 2. But they didn't charge me with that, but they did charge me with DUI. But I mean, everybody must think that I look good up here and I dress well and everything. And this is kind of what I wear to work, except not the tie. But it's my drinking career and the way I am is always a facade. I'm kind of like a chameleon. I can change and adapt and do things to control, which I think I'm controlling. Not really, but I do think that way. And I manipulate and I take whatever I want. But anyway, back to getting arrested at gunpoint. I had almost 3 years of sobriety at that point, so I had a lawyer from Alcoholics Anonymous help me with the case. And that felony got dropped down to a misdemeanor, and I did the court ordered stuff. And again, got away with murder. You know, basically, I could have killed somebody, ran over people. I drove drunk all the time. But anyway, with that term, I got pretty much a lot into Alcoholics Anonymous. I used to speak. I did H&I work at hospitals and treatment centers, bringing meetings to them. And I obtained 7 years of sobriety out of that. And what changed for me was I really had a higher power that I could see things. I could see things in people, good in people, bad in people. And I really stuck with it. And I stuck with the program up until about 6 years. I started slowing down with meetings. I didn't talk to my sponsor. I kind of just ran wild. And what got me to drink again wasn't that I'd slowed down in AA, even though that was part of it, what I find out now. But my brother, who was 2 years younger than me, was flown to my house because he was going to come to a treatment center here in Prescott. And his flight was a direct flight from Sacramento to Phoenix, but somehow got lost in Vegas for 5 hours. So he rerouted himself. He was on pain medication for surgeries, drinking heavily. He had just gotten arrested for a felony, screaming in front of his wife's house, which he had been kicked out. Had his oldest daughter, had brain cancer, and the diagnosis was she was going to die. So he just had his whole life falling apart. But anyway, he showed up to my house drunk, on medication, and my job was, that I thought, was just to let him have a good time, and he did. It was an amazing day. He had an amazing time with my kids. And he passed out on the couch sitting up, and I laid him down when I went to bed. just to make him comfortable. I woke up around 1:30 in the morning and thought something was wrong, and I went to go check on him, and he wasn't breathing. Rolled him on the floor. He was still a little bit warm, but rolled him on the floor, cleared his throat, started CPR because I've been trained in it, and had my girlfriend call the paramedics. I did CPR probably for about 7 minutes before they got there. They came in, they did everything in the world for it. But the crazy thing about it is that I was supposed to keep him safe so he could go to treatment. And he died. And I couldn't save him. And I still stayed sober through all that. It was about 4 months after the funerals and everything, I just lost faith in my higher power. I really did. I lost faith in how this program worked, or at least how I thought it worked. And so I went out back drinking for 10 years. And I did controlled drinking. I drank 2 days a week. I worked a 4-day week, drank 2 days, sobered up 1, and then went back to work and did that for 10 years. But when I went on vacation, it was a free-for-all. I just stayed drunk, passed out drunk the whole time. Didn't do anything. My kids went and did stuff, but I just drank. So I have a disease. When I drink, I just drink. Whatever's in the house, I'll drink it. If it's yours, mine, someone else's, I'll just drink it. And when I wake up from passing out, I'll drink again and again and again. So, but I've known this my whole life, that I drink this way. And I've tried to control it. But the problem is that it just is amazingly hard to live that kind of life. So one day I was sitting on my couch. I've been an engineer for 30 years in television, gone jobs from Sacramento to Arizona. The last place was 10 years at Dish. As a senior engineer, I'd been promoted 3 times. So you have to understand that having alcoholism and trying to control it, you can, or at least I thought I had something. But I was sitting on the couch one day with half a fifth, and I don't know, something came over me. I just couldn't do it anymore. And I called a treatment center up here in Phoenix, got enrolled in Reflections. And when I got there, I just jumped into it. I immediately asked what was the best meeting, which was Sunday Morning Men's Stag, who I am now the chairperson for. But I found guys with years and years and years of sobriety, and I wanted what they had. I was so beaten to death with this that, I mean, I had a lot of options. I could kill myself. I could drink myself to death. And it was at the point where that was going to happen. I just had had enough with the world. So I got into treatment, and I just jumped on. I found a sponsor. I did whatever he said. And he was my sponsor for about 3 months, and he moved to Parker. And so I immediately grabbed another person who I respected. He's a younger gentleman than me. His name is Issac Banks, who is my sponsor now. But he has shown me, both of those gentlemen showed me. The first gentleman, Charles, showed me that this is my journey. It's not your journey. It's no one else's. It's mine. I have to find this. I have to find the peace that I'm looking for in my life. And that was great. He taught me that I could do this and find what I needed out of this, take what I wanted and leave the rest behind. Keep the personalities out of it. Keep the steps in it, in the book. So Isaac and I, by 6 months, I'd gone through all the steps, and immediately he had me out sponsoring people. I have 2 sponsees right now that are sober. One of them is 6 months behind me, and the other one is coming up on 60 days. I have a lot of other people that I sponsor, but they don't call, which is okay. I'm just here to help. My hands are out there to anybody and everybody that wants help, male or female. I won't sponsor females, but I will direct you to someone that can. But what I found in this is that all those times I'd done Alcoholics Anonymous, I had done one thing wrong. I just didn't give up. There was always out of the 12 steps, there was always a reason why I had to do my way. Change it, direct it a little bit. And what I found out is that when you just give it up, everything, and just tell the truth. It really sucks, but when you do it, it's amazing. And today I try to tell the truth all the time. I'm always being of service, which is every day, anywhere I go. Now, sometimes I can find out where I am personally as I go to the grocery store on my way home sometimes, and I dictate by watching the people in front of me of where my personality is at. Because sometimes I'm very impatient. Sometimes the people are not like me. They're not good enough. They're not fast enough. They're not great enough. And that just kind of places me where I'm at. Over these 2 years, I have had struggles, major struggles. From 6 months to 9 months, I had a problem fitting in these rooms. I didn't have friends. I didn't feel like I belonged. And it frustrated me because I'd come to the meetings and I just felt like I was sitting in a corner hiding, and I didn't know what to do. And it got to the point where with me and my sponsor, I just had to give it up. I mean, I really had to. It was so frustrating. And then lo and behold, things changed. I don't know. I think it was just because I gave it up, the struggle. And then I had, from 9 months to 1 year, I had a huge journey looking for a higher power. Because I'd grown up with a religious background. And I learned one thing through all that God hated me. And because of all the stuff I'd done in my life, I was hated. And I couldn't follow that God. So I had to come up with a concept. So I did reading, lots of reading books, sometimes 3-4 books at a time, trying to figure out what this was so I could name it. And the problem was that I was trying to name my higher power instead of just having one. Which was amazing once I let that go, because it just doesn't matter what it's called. It doesn't matter. I don't have to label it. I just know he's there. He's there to hold me when things are hard. He's there to give me things when I need it. And of course, it never happens when I need it, but it comes when it gets done. And so, I mean, I think most of the time at work, people think I'm insane because I'm out there talking to them while I'm walking through the parking lot. And it's just because I'm struggling with personal defects, which is steps 6 and 7. I have to learn to correct my old behaviors, which is hard. Again, like I said, I wanted everything. I was willing to take it, steal it, do whatever. And I couldn't understand why I couldn't have it. Today, I still want things in my life, but I take it when I get it now. I just show up, do the work. The job I have, I sell cars, going from an engineer to cars. How about that? But what I learned in that job was, and some of the people in the room know it, is that I just help people. When they come in, I just help them. They tell me what they want. I try to find it for them. And if they want to purchase it, they purchase it. Amazingly, I do well at it. But I just stay out of trying to control it. And right now, that's the job where I need to be. I know that. And amazingly, it's a job that fluctuates with how I get paid, but amazingly every month I seem to just make it through, without struggling, without hurting, but it just gets done. I do a lot of service work. It keeps my mind from running. I have a mind that's always going, always thinking, always trying to change it, always trying to figure it out. And so that helps me. It gets me out of self. It gets me helping other people. And I'm not thinking about myself, because I really do think about myself a lot, which is nuts. But my favorite people are really the newcomers, because I look in the rooms, and that's a lot of why I do service work, is because I can see me over those 30 years. I can see the guys that aren't comfortable in their chair, the guys that are looking down, the guys that want to go in and out and smoke, the guys and girls that are just angry that they're here and that they've ended up here. And I mean, I know what that feels like, because I've done all of it. I've done this so many times. I know the confusion, I know the anger, and you're looking at this wall, 12 steps and these traditions, and you're going, this is fucking stupid. I get it. The reason I'm up here is I want you to not have to go through what I went through. I mean, I've been arrested over 16 times. I've been in jails in many, many cities. I used to get drunk just to fight, because it was fun. I could take all that anger out, and it was fun. And sometimes I lost, but it was still fun. I honestly don't know how I'm alive. I don't know why that happened to me on my couch. Because once I got in the treatment center, I drank again. I drank, I think my blood alcohol was like 3.27 when I got to detox. I had to stay in there for 10 days because my heart wouldn't stop or wouldn't beat correctly. So I went back to the hospital twice. I'm amazed that I have 2 children. I had a wife that died from this disease. We weren't married at the time, but at the time my son was 13 and my daughter was 10. She died from this. She isolated so well and hid so much. I mean, we knew about the drugs, but it was all because she had mental issues. But she was dead for 2 days before anybody noticed. And almost 2 weeks prior to that, I'd gone to court and took full custody because she had Child Protective Services got involved. But anyway, my son today is 21. I have an 18-year-old daughter. My kids love me, which is amazing, because I just, like I said, drank. I really didn't care what it. It's amazing how insane this is, but I thought I deserved it. I worked hard. I could drink hard. And I didn't think anything was wrong with it. I really didn't. Someone having 2-3 sips out of a glass, I thought that was alcohol abuse, just leaving it. But the hardest part is, like I said, giving up. But if you survive going back out there, there will be a day when it breaks, when you just can't do this anymore. And when you first get into, if you do treatment or just come into Alcoholics Anonymous, you're not going to just be great and happy that this is happening. But if you can find somebody that you can, think you can trust, and then get to know a little bit by talking with them. And that's really why calling that person every day helps, because you get to know them and I get to know you. And then we work the steps. And, we go through them as fast as we can, but as thorough as we can. When I got to my fourth and fifth step, I did what I thought was a thorough inventory, but after I did it, I just felt so much guilt. I immediately called my sponsor and told him all the horrible stuff that I'd done, because somehow I knew that there was a truth in it. Did you need something?
I was scratching my eyebrows.
So, I knew since I was 23 that I was powerless over alcohol and that my life was unmanageable, but I just managed to manage the unmanageable. Finding a higher power was hard for me because what I had learned was not what I believed. So when I got to the third step, I just said, okay, I'll try to find one. And then I did fourth and fifth step. 6 and 7, which is very fast in the book, is actually, I did a lot of reading on that because I looked at the 7 deadly sins, and that's basically all the sins that I ran on in my life. And I wanted to know why I lived that way. And so I really did a lot of reading into that. 8 and 9, 8 was a lot of my fourth step, and then I had to start making financial amends to some stuff, verbal amends to my family, friends, and today when I make a mistake, if I don't apologize immediately, I come and apologize for my behavior, because I know it now, I feel it. I know when I hurt or harm people. So that's a daily thing. I've gone and apologized to people at work, and they have no idea why. But it's because my behavior changed, and I lashed out or did something wrong, and I do it. I do it with my children now. One of the best things I ever got out of the meetings when I first got in was that I had done AA so many times, I knew one thing, I'd never done it right, so I just listened. I didn't really talk. I really don't talk much now. I run meetings and I stand up and, direct things, but it's rare for me to speak out about my feelings, unless it's a point that needs to be done or said, at least for me. I constantly take a inventory at night. I look back on what I've done, what I've said. Do I need to change it? My journey, which is 11 and 12, I look at myself daily and what I need to do and what I need to change, because I am capable of changing my behavior today. And then with the higher power, I just really float with it. Like I said, I talk to him in the parking lot or home or out on the deck or whatever, but it just kind of keeps me calm. My whole life today has changed dramatically from where it's been. It's not that I don't want things in my life, and I don't want success, and I don't want things, but I just don't push the way I used to. I just kind of follow the path. In my sobriety, I've had a lot of problems. I've had times where I've had to do a 4-step inventory over and over on why I continue to try to be God. And that's really what shows up every time I do one, is that I'm trying to control everything. I don't know. I mean, what's changed for me in AA is that I really like AA. I like doing this. I wear a 24-hour chip around my neck because I used to lose them. But it keeps me centered. The 3 sides of it, unity, recovery, and service is what I do. Like I said, when I did it for the 7 years, I pushed it. I needed to be up here. I needed to be noticed. It was all about ego. Today I don't. I just quietly, well, sometimes quietly, do my service work. But for the newcomers, it's hard. I mean, amazingly, your first year will be a struggle. But if you can get past that and you can find someone you can trust, it's a hell of a ride. I have experienced things in my life now with just being able to let it happen and notice things. I wish I'd have done this when I was 23, I honestly do. Because it's amazing. I know one thing, so you understand me. I will never drink again. And it's not because of the steps. It's because I know if I drink again, I will not come back. And it'll be very short. And it'll be brutal. There are times in my life where there's other options, like putting a bullet in my head or other things. But today I just try to move forward and not direct it. I hope something I said here today may help one of you or a few of you. And I love you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Reed, for sharing your experience, strength, and hope with us.